those first few episodes, the first five, kind of had a feel of both Stepford Wives, the book, not the movie, and Rosemary's Baby. There's a focus on the child and what's
Yes.
become the child.
Which is so primal. My wife and I have no children of our own, but we have hundreds, if not thousands, of people in our lives that we've watched grow up, because we're teachers. And I think that that is a very deep response when a child goes missing, or it's an easy thing to start with because you have an audience of people who say, when that front door is open in the first episode, most people go, oh no, oh dear, uh-oh. We have that instinctive feeling. So you've got that. Rosemary's Baby, that's interesting. And I will tell you, unspoiled this alert, it ain't the devil, but it's something like that. And I do know where we're going with the story. But I like to think of it, if you want to take it to a larger metaphorical sense, she is our innocence. Watching her get stolen could be just a child, or it could be something much, much bigger. And that's going back to your word about catharsis. I'm finding myself being able to talk about things that bother me about what's happening in the world, I'll say. And I'm being very subtle about it, but I do think that it's a bigger situation than losing one child. In the story of Darkpool, you're going to see that we've lost a lot more.
Now, let's talk about the story a little bit. Jim comes home one day, finds the door open, and his wife and daughter aren't there, and he kind of goes a little crazy, and he gets looking for them. And then they're introduced, simple explanation.
All's well. All's well. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong.
Yeah, but Jim seems to inhabit a little bit of a strange world, at least it is to him. Nobody else seems to think anything is unusual except for Jim.
I think he's, and I lead a wonderful life, and I'm surrounded by healthy, wonderful people. I'd like to preface with that, but I think that most of us feel at one point or another like, why does everybody act so strangely? I mean, we all have those days when we think, am I the only one who sees this? Am I the only one who looks at this issue in this certain way? I feel very alone. And so in that way, I think Jim Kroll could be the next everyman. He feels very isolated, but doesn't understand, is simply trying to get by, give people the appropriate responses that they seem to want, and it's okay with him for a long time because he doesn't know any better, or that he doesn't have any reason to change. I mean, just like that young boy gave me that reason to wake up and start moving, he hasn't had that happen yet. So, yeah, people are treating him very strangely. Episode 2, where the office joke is so cruel and out of hand that you have to ask the WTF question, to use our lingo. You have to. You go like,
who does that?
Who does that? And he's just laughed at, like, come on, get over it. It's, I think that jumping back to the real world that I live in, I do see that we can get cruel with each other. We can get, television has changed into cruel TV in some ways, and you see things and go like, how close are we to the Romans just throwing people to the lions and calling it television, I mean, Hunger Games. How close are we to that at this point? How mean do we have to get on television? So I think that it resonates. I hope, anyway, that people watching go like, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit pushed in Darkpool, but it's, it's a crazy world we live in.
Well, you've introduced some very interesting characters in the first season of the first 5 episodes. Jack, his boss.
Jack.
He's a very strange boss. And Susan, Tracy's wife's friend, who is one of the more obnoxious characters you ever would want to cross.
I know!
He doesn't tell her to shut up and mind her own business.
Her tone of voice and everything about her makes you go like, oh, what is that? What's going on with that, right?
Well, she's so full of condescension towards him.
They all seem to be in on a private joke.
Yes, don't they?
And maybe that's another everyman thing, every woman, every person, but I think it's really easy for someone to go like, everyone else seems to be laughing at a joke that I don't get, and that's Jim in a nutshell. Let's talk about Jack real quick, and then we'll go over to Susan. Each one of these characters is fairly fleshed out in my mind, and so I will try to truncate a little bit. But Jack's the kind of guy that you think didn't always work for a company called Tesseract. And by the way, there's no T at the end of that on purpose. It's a CK. But it is very much resonant to the Tesseract image. A box within a box within a box within a box. And that will become very important as an image, the name of the company. But Jack, I can imagine he worked for the CIA at one point. I think he's had a very, very mysterious life. I know that I'll give you this at least. He has Army connections, the U.S. Army. He is a lot older than he appears to be. And I'm going to leave it at that because we are dealing with time travel eventually. And I think I'm not giving anything away if you've seen at least 4 of the episodes that, we're dealing with things like time travel, DNA manipulation, and how you can take the human DNA and make a person better in some ways, capable of certain things, and certainly longevity could be something that we could fix fairly easily.
Well, that becomes very important because the story through the first 2 seasons is revealed to Jim as well as to the viewers. He finds out things about the world he lives in that he had no idea existed.
Yeah.
And
we're living through his eyes.
And he begins to find out things about himself, or that there's something about himself that he needs to find out.
At least that at this point in the story. Several times someone says, he's the only one who knows who you truly are, referring to Jack. His wife says that. If you only knew who you were, Jim. He keeps getting that message, but he doesn't understand the import of it or how to find that out. He needs help. He needs a little information that needs to be given to him, or he needs to be nudged. And I believe the captain, that young man, who's, by the way, a wonderful actor, is...
he's fantastic.
Isn't he fantastic?
His reading of his lines was so perfect.
I think he's a movie star. Anybody out there who happens to be able to do that, one of the things I'm trying to do is to help my young ones get over that fence. And I hope to see one of them be seen by someone, and off they go. And my greatest joy will be to lose them from Darkpool.
Of course.
To the major motion picture.
Well, that's the teacher in you, though, is seeing kids and students go off and succeed.
To make my actors unaffordable.
Yeah, okay. And the pride you take in that, obviously.
Yeah, great. Oh, that'll be the big day. His name is Rob August, by the way. And, use him. The other actor, by the way, who plays Jack is Gary Panullo. Wonderful professional actor, lives in LA now and is looking for work, and is starting to see some movement there. He's actually using Darkpool as an audition reel in some cases, where he can just say, look at episode 3 and 4, and you'll get a sense of my work. But Susan, now let's talk about Susan. She is a very incidental character at this point in the story, but in my vision of the story arc, every single character that appears to you at any time in the story is significant. Perhaps even that person who pours some coffee for someone at a restaurant, even extras. Keep watching for them because they might show up again. If anything triggers, it's important. She is best friends with Tracy, the wife. And I think you feel that when she rescued her from oblivion. Yeah. And we're going to be dealing with that theme. Tracy feels like she's living in oblivion in the perfect little American dream life. So who is she? If that's the case, then why does she feel like that? And I think we're going to need Susan to come back to help us know that. Susan gets mentioned. I'm doing this where I'm stealing a tip from August Wilson, the playwright, that I learned of mentioning characters. These 2 characters are speaking about a third character, and that third character becomes as real sometimes as someone who's on screen. So Susan's not done.
Okay. Which is an interesting character, and she's been important in the scenes that in which
she tickles right there. She makes you go like, what? and
Yeah,
then she's gone.
you know she's there for a reason, not just for Jim to hate her. So
Actor's name, Kelly Ogden. I'm a good guy. I'm putting names in there, just so you know. And she'll be very pleased to know that you found that to be interesting. I'll certainly relay that to her.
all right.
People want Susan back.